Alright, it's Saturday, November 17, 2018 at 12:30 p.m. Let's take a look at some headlines. Why is Canada running out of marijuana? Cannabis retailers in Canada began to run low on supplies for the very first day of legislation a month ago. How long are shortages expected to continue as the new market of recreational cannabis finds its feet? In the early days of legislation, James Burns was confident his company had enough product on the shelves of its 5 new cannabis retail stores, even though they only received half of their order from the provincial supplier. Now he has had staff refreshing the government supply website in the early hours to snap up scarce new stock as soon as it's available, and is considering restricting store hours. While there was product to order, we were very comfortably getting a large amount of it, says Burns, a CEO of Alcana, a company that owns a chain of private liquor stores in Canada and the US, now cannabis stores in the province of Alberta. But obviously, when there's literally none there, it doesn't matter how big you are. There's just none there. If the government warehouse is empty, it's empty. There's nothing you can do. Since the first days of recreational cannabis in legislated Canada, there have been shortages. So, there's shortages of marijuana in Canada. Hopefully they get new supplies soon. Alright. This one, cars will lead to more sex on the road, study says. It is quite likely that autonomous vehicles will lead to prostitution, whether legal or illegal, taking place in moving autonomous vehicles in the future, said one researcher. Driverless cars will have a transformative impact on the future, shaking up certain industries and changing the way people live and work. There's also going to be a change the way people have sex, according to a new study. With the relative privacy of a car, no need to pay attention to the road, sex on the go will likely be common with the widespread adoption of self-driving vehicles, according to a new paper published in the journal Annals of Tourism Research. The study reviewed papers of self-driving cars in cities to identify future trends around how self-driving cars will reshape the tourism industry. There is something that seems to have simulated interests, said Scott Cohen, Deputy Director of Research in the School of Hospitality and Tourism Management at the University of Surrey, who led the study. Around 60% of Americans have already had sex in a car, noted the survey, but with driverless cars, it's more likely than just couples who might want to sneak a quickie while on the go, Cohen said. Autonomous vehicles could become a new avenue for the sex tourism. So that's something that's quite interesting. I don't know if that will be allowed to be legal for people to do that, but that's pretty crazy. Alright, next. U.S. military in crisis. Could lose a war to Russia and China, report warns. The U.S. could suffer unacceptable high casualties and loss of major capital assets in its next conflict, the National Defense Strategy Commission says. The United States faces a crisis of national security because its historic military supremacy has eroded drastically, leaving it likely and unable to fight more than a single war at a time, according to a Congressional Charter report released Wednesday. The U.S. military superiority is no longer assured, and the implications for American interests and American security are severe, said the report, which was issued by the National Defense Strategy Commission, an independent agency whose board is appointed by the House and Senate Armed Services Committees. The report concludes that the Defense Department isn't financially or strategically set up to wage 2 wars at once and could even lose a war against China or Russia individually. The U.S. military could suffer unacceptably high casualties and loss of major capital assets in its next conflict, it said. So, the U.S. government right now may not have the funds to wage more than one war and probably lose to Russia or China if it did start a war or was in a war. Alright, UFOs spotted off Irish coast under investigation. The Irish Aviation Authority is investigating reports of bright lights and UFOs on the southwest coast of Ireland. It began at 6:47 local time on Friday, 9 of November when a British Airways pilot contacted Shannon Air Traffic Control. She wanted to know if there were military exercises in the area because there was something moving so fast. The air traffic controller said there was no such exercises. The pilot flying from the Canadian city of Montreal to Heathrow said there was a very bright light and the object had come up along the left side of the aircraft before it rapidly veered to the north. She was wondering what it could be, but said it did not seem to be heading for a collision. Another pilot from Virgin Plane joined in and suggested it might be a meteor or another object re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. He said there were multiple objects following the same sort of trajectory and that they were very bright. The pilot said he saw two bright lights over the right which climbed away at speed. One pilot said the speed was astronomical, like it was Mach 2, which is twice the speed of sound. What could it have been? Apostolos Chistou, astronomer of the Armagh Observatory Planetarium, said the pilot saw probably a piece of dust entering the Earth's atmosphere at very high speed. It was most likely what are commonly called shooting stars, he said. It appears the matter was extremely bright, so it might have been quite a large piece of material. I cannot say from the pilot's description, but it could have been the size of a walnut or an apple. The astronomer said November tended to be a very busy month for such activity. It also appears there were bits coming off the object and flying past the airplane. This is why you would expect if it was a particularly large rock from space hitting the atmosphere, it would tend to fragment. Following reports from a small number of aircraft on Friday, November 9th, the unusual air activity of the IAA has a filed report, the Irish Aviation Authority said. The report will be investigated under the normal confidential occurrence investigation process. A spokesperson for Shannon Airport said it would not be appropriate for the airport to comment while the IAA investigation is ongoing. So, did these pilots see a UFO or did they see a meteor? Alright, that's it for the headlines today. Hope you guys like and subscribe. Hope you guys have a nice weekend. And see you next time, guys.